Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Japan Station.
Welcome to Japan Station, a production of Japankia.com. This is the podcast where we teach you everything you should know about Japan, plus a few other things. I'm your host, founder of Japankia.com, and the anime linguist on YouTube, Tony R. Vega. Today I've got a rebroadcast of an episode of Ichimon Japan for you. So this one is about places in Japan known for having beautiful women as well as places in Japan known for having ugly women. Now, this is not information that I came up with. I didn't go out all over Japan and come up with these lists. No, don't blame me. This is just stuff that people say in Japan. So we're going to go over all of that. And by the way, for those of you who already listened to my recent episode about Akita Prefecture, I did talk about the beautiful women of Akita in that episode, and that will come up in this episode as well. But there is slightly different information in each of these two episodes because, well, let's just say that a lot of this stuff is not based on facts. And so depending on what information you use as your source, you're going to get different explanations. And so, yeah, I use different articles as my sources in these two episodes, and we got slightly different explanations, and the details ended up being a little bit different. Doesn't matter though. This is the kind of stuff that people say, and we will be talking about it here. Don't forget to subscribe, like, leave a review, whatever you can do to support the show. That is all greatly appreciated. Let's get into the episode. So they have wet, icky skin, and they're like translucent white. So
they look like a corpse.
Yeah, they're like wet vampires.
So beautiful.
The pinnacle of beauty, yeah. Welcome to Ichimon Japan. I'm Tony.
And I'm Ryan.
All right, so Ichimon means one question, and every episode we ask a question about Japan or the Japanese language. And today's question is Yamaguchi cursed to have ugly girls? Ugly is in quotation marks here. So
this was Tony's choice as a topic. I'm cleaning my hands of it now.
Disclaimer time! Here's a little disclaimer for everybody. It's going to go on for a little while. So, today we're going to be talking about something that, well, not just the Yamaguchi thing, but some other stuff as well related to this whole idea of beauty and ugliness and blah, blah, blah. Again, in quotation marks. This is stuff that Japanese people are aware of. Maybe not everybody is aware of every aspect of this, but many are aware of many aspects of the stuff that we're going to be talking about. So I think that's why, it's worth talking about, because if you consume enough Japanese media or talk to enough Japanese people, or I don't know, like just you're in Japan long enough, some of this stuff might pop up in some way or another. And so, some of this stuff, a lot of this stuff actually is not in English. So I thought it was worth highlighting. And plus, 99% of this is like absolutely absurd, bonkers. Like it's like the kind of stuff that we love picking apart and saying like this doesn't make any sense. So when we say ugly or beautiful, 99% of the times it's going to be in unstated air quotes. This is what people say. This is not necessarily our own opinions. All right. Did I cover everything? Are we safe? Are we not going to get canceled here?
Again, as long as it's only you who's canceled, because I had nothing to do with this topic choice.
Okay, next episode, Ichimon Japan featuring only Ryan. Okay, so again, we're gonna talk about what people say and what's out there in the world, but we may not. We're gonna, as you're gonna hear, we're gonna be deconstructing a lot of this and saying like this doesn't really make sense. So let's start, before we get to Yamaguchi. Yamaguchi is going to be in the second half of the episode. First, we're going to talk about some more general beauty, quote unquote, ugliness kind of things going on. So in Japan, there's a lot of lists of like the 3 best whatever, right? Like, I think one of the most famous ones of these are like the 3 most beautiful best views in Japan. There's Amano Hashidate in Kyoto, and Miyajima, the floating island, Itsukushima in Hiroshima Prefecture, and then there's an island in Miyagi Prefecture, right? And so, people throughout Japan and history and culture, they love making these little lists of like the 3 whatevers and the 3 whatevers, the 3 best gyoza or whatever, there's tons of these.
The 3 best gyoza.
Yeah, 3 best. I'm pretty sure there is there's 2 really famous gyoza cities in Japan. So I don't know if there's a third.
And the third is 7-Eleven Zagyoza. I don't know if that exists, but 7-Eleven does have a habit of putting like the za before something. Zachahan. They do have zachahan.
Zachahan. I wasn't aware of that. I did pay attention to the names. But anyway, so there is this thing, usually it's referred to as the Sandai Bijin. Okay, so Bijin, literally, beautiful person, but it's used to refer to beautiful women because men can't be beautiful, I guess. So, and then Sandai is like 3. Dai is, well, the implication here is like it's the best 3 or the most 3 or something like that. And what this means is the places in Japan best known for having like the 3 most beautiful women, something like that, right?
Yeah.
And we're not talking about like individual women. We're talking about like this city is known for having a lot of beautiful women, and the typical list of these 3 places is Kyoto, Akita, and Fukuoka, specifically Hakata. But I also found another version that instead of Fukuoka/Hakata, it was Kanazawa. So Kanazawa is in Ishikawa, where Ryan is.
Yeah, I don't live in Kanazawa, but very, very close.
Uh-huh. Had you ever heard that Ishikawa or Kanazawa is
I have not heard Kanazawa specifically, but I have heard the Kaga area in general, I suppose to.
Yeah. Yes. They also hear...
Our old name here was Kaga, so...
Yes. In the articles that I was reading, sometimes I would see Kaga Bijin as well.
Yeah, Kaga Bijin, that's the...
Yeah. So, again, back to my huge disclaimer at the beginning. These are things that people say, right? Like, you hear these things. So I think in that sense, it's worth discussing, even if, as we will learn, they're at best based on dubious claims. The more popular top 3 is Hakata, Kyoto, and Akita, right? Usually Kanazawa gets left off, but it's there too, and they're known for having beautiful women. We will get back to that in a moment. So, what's up with these like 3 places? Like, what's special about them? Why do they have like all the pretty girls, apparently? So, as you might expect, there's a lot of dubious explanations for this. And of course, beauty is subjective, and what I consider beautiful may not be what you consider beautiful. And so trying to explain like this huge thing in these simple ways will no doubt result in, hard to believe explanations. But here's a few hard to believe explanations. So Akita is up in the northern area of Honshu. And they say, at least the articles that I read said that it's known for having a relatively high level of humidity throughout the year and short
So like
days.
Japan.
So like Japan, yeah. And relatively short days. So like not that much sunlight, I guess. This results in the women of Akita having moister skin, I guess you would say, and fairer skin, so whiter skin.
The way you said it, I just imagine they're like just kind of wet all day.
It's like, ew, your cheeks are so wet. So they have wet, icky skin, and they're like translucent white. So,
So they look like a corpse.
Yeah, they're like wet vampires.
So beautiful.
Yeah, the pinnacle of beauty. Yeah. So no, the idea that fair skin, white skin, is popular throughout Japan. That is something beautiful. That is something, that's why a lot of times you see like many women in Japan, they have parasols. They very much protect their skin, not just because they're trying to protect their skin because that's healthy, but also because they want to maintain a, not a dark complexion, right? A fair complexion.
In case you're curious, you personally, Tony, when I lived in sunny places, I did definitely see that. But now that I live in a place where we only get the sun like once a month, no one has parasols.
Oh, man. So maybe, and I didn't read this anywhere, but maybe Ishikawa, because it's so rainy and cloudy, the women there also have wet, moist, pale skin.
Yeah, we probably can beat them in wetness, at least.
All right. So we're trying to weave together some dubious facts here. So I've never been to Akita. You haven't either, right, Ryan?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah. So I can't.
I've heard they're very famous for dogs, though.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. And I've never touched the skin of an Akita woman, so I can't, vouch for how wet their skin is.
I'll go there and say it's for research.
Can I touch your cheek? It's for research. So that's one claim to explain Akita.
For the record, I am not going to do that.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, we're not. Another claim that I saw was like the water was like really good or something. So I don't know. Like it's like we're getting into like more and more dubious claims here. As for Kyoto, a couple explanations that I saw was like, it's a very refined and kind of cultured city. And so, their movements of the women and their kind of demeanor were very, like, I guess, classy and again, cultured. So that gave the impression of like these beautiful women.
I feel like Kyoto's just Kyoto. So anything about traditional good Japan, they're going to put on the list no matter what.
Yeah. I agree. And plus it was the capital and a lot of people, a lot of culture, kind of, that was like a cultural mecca. So, okay. Yeah. Like it's not surprising that Kyoto would be on the list. And then as for Hakata, this is another really interesting, explanation that I saw an article mention. The women, okay. So the women, first of all, they're kind of like, they're kind of trendsetters, I guess you would say. They're quick to jump on trends, but also kind of trendsetters. So that's one aspect of the beauty of the women of Hakata Bijin. But also, they eat motsunabe and a lot of chicken, all right? And I'll explain what motsunabe is, but basically these foods supposedly have a lot of collagen, and if you ingest a lot of collagen, then that's good for your skin. So because they eat a lot of this, then they have good skin. Now, motsunabe is a well-known like dish of Hakata, of that area. I've had it. It's very good. It's basically like a beef and or pork tripe like hot pot soup kind of thing. It's good. It's tasty. But from what I remember, it was also rather like oily. So like, even if we accept the premise that collagen is good for your skin, and I'm pretty sure that's at best debated still scientifically, the fact that you would have to eat so much of it to get the benefits of collagen, you'd also have to ingest a lot of like oil and bad stuff. So I'm not sure that that's really like it all balances out. So,
it's almost like these things aren't scientific.
Exactly. Yeah. So, the article that I first read that proposed these things specifically mentions afterwards is like, yeah, but these don't really even the Japanese article said like, yeah, they're not particularly convincing explanations. So that article then proposes another explanation, which is, I think, more convincing, and that these places were known for having pleasure districts, kind of like red light districts, entertainment districts. Hakata still has a place known called Nakasu, which is very much that kind of like nighttime entertainment district. Kyoto, of course, famous for its own tea house districts and stuff. But I think there was a place,
Shimahara.
Okay. But yeah, Kyoto had a place called Shimahara. I don't remember hearing about this place, so it may not exist anymore in terms of its name. Maybe, there's still that kind of district there, but it's known by a different name. I don't know. Akita, the article didn't mention one for Akita. I had to do a little bit of research. I think it was called Kawabata, but I'm not totally sure. But you can imagine, all right, so these three, fairly well-known places, Hakata was, a big, and continues to be like one of the bigger cities in Kyushu, if not the biggest. Kyoto, of course, once a capital, still an important cultural center. And Akita, I really don't know that much about Akita, but I'm just kind of assuming that was also like kind of a bigger kind of city in that area. So you can imagine, like these big entertainment districts would attract, for one, women, but also men. And if you have a traveler going by and having a night out on the town, and then, he goes and he sees these beautiful women, and then he goes back home and he talks about, oh, I went to Kyoto and there were so many beautiful women. It's like, well, okay, you saw a very small sample size of women that were specifically chosen to be beautiful, so it's like, you can understand how maybe some rumors and how some information might get out from that kind of general interaction between people that would frequent these places and then going back to their own more rural places after visiting these places on business or government business or whatever. So there's something there. I can't say that that's the only explanation, but I do think there's possibly something there. Another interesting thing is that something that is said is that it's not just these three cities, but it's women. It's along the Sea of Japan. There's a lot of beautiful women. So the coast, along the places that are on the coast of the Sea of Japan.
So that would be including Ishikawa.
So that's where I was going. So that includes Ishikawa. This would be like the west side of Honshu, I guess you could call it, like in terms of the coast.
Yeah. Kind of northwest.
Yeah. And, this does include also, Kyoto. Kyoto does connect to the Sea of Japan. So, okay. Not the city itself, but you do have to go, to another part of the prefecture. But I guess, okay, connects to the Sea of Japan. Hakata, Fukuoka, all that side of Kyushu also kind of connects to the Sea of Japan. So, okay, it was especially Hakata in that whole area, it was a big city of trade and all that. And then Akita, do you know, does that, I guess that connects to the Sea of Japan too, do you know?
Let me get a map. I think it does.
Okay, so let's
Again, I'm not
yes.
sure where the city itself ends, but looks like it should.
All right, so let's say that Akita, yes, so it's close enough to the Sea of Japan for us to at least say it jives with this proposed explanation. Okay, so then why? Like, so what if it's with the Sea of Japan? It's like, what does that really like mean? Why would that have any sort of bearing on the beauty of the women there? Now, one explanation is that these areas along the Sea of Japan had more interaction with the Korean Peninsula and the Eurasian continent, like Siberia, present-day Russia and that stuff, trade or, and we're talking quite possibly like thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. And so there was certain kind of interactions, also genetic mixing, that resulted in some of the people in these areas having features, that are considered to be not classically Japanese, mixed with like, the people from those areas. And so, for example, something that is said about the women of Akita is that they have more pronounced features. Something like, that just generally means like, kind of the eyebrow and the cheekbones are like more pronounced. So you have more pronounced features rather than a flatter face. And these are, generally speaking, considered more beautiful within Japanese culture. So one article that I saw mentioned that 10% of people in Akita have some genetic trait that is related to a virus that only like would pop up in like white people. So it was not at all a detailed article. So I can't verify this. I don't know exactly what they're referring to, but they were proposing that as some sort of proof that Akita has this connection with, the outside of Japan. So if we accept this premise, then we can perhaps, accept to some level, okay, so they have women in these areas are more prone to having certain features that within Japanese culture are considered beautiful, but are not considered quote unquote Japanese. So that influences their appearance and thus they are considered more beautiful. I can't say that that's true, but maybe there's something there. I don't know. I feel
like it's someone just said these three places for no reason and later on people looked for excuses to justify it later.
I'm going to give you such a wonderful example of that in just a moment. But I do think that a lot of this is like basically what we would call in the world of fiction, you would call it retconning, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, somebody said that these three places are beautiful. Let's try and figure out a way to like explain all of this. When in reality, like maybe there are multiple factors, but I do think that one of the biggest factors is that these were just popular cities and people would go there, and the people doing the traveling back in the day, let's say Edo period and whatnot, were men. And so they would, talk about the women and they would spread these rumors and stuff and blah, blah, blah. I think that is definitely at least to some impact, especially when we're talking about like Kyoto, like everybody would go to Kyoto if they could, right? These diplomats and merchants and all that. So, but anyway, so we have all these explanations and none of them really convince me. And, but it is what it is. These places have a reputation for having beautiful women. And every once in a while you hear about it, it might be in a kind of joking fashion or, it just comes up in the media or whatever. There's also something else, which is the opposite of the Sandai Bijin.
Dun,
and that
dun,
is
dun.
Yeah, this is the dun, 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 definitely. This is the Sandai Busu. All right. Again, I am not claiming this. This is what people say. If you look it up in Japanese, you can get many articles that talk about this. So Sandai, again, it's implicitly referring to the three most famous or whatever. Busu literally means ugly. So we're talking about the three places in Japan that are known for having ugly women, or the most ugly women, or something like that. They're the three most famous places for having ugly women. So we're increasingly getting into cancel territory here. So these three places are Mito in Ibaraki Prefecture, Nagoya in Aichi Prefecture, and Sendai again. So three different places. For some reason, they've developed this reputation for having ugly women. Now, there's less about these three places online that I was able to find than there is about the Sandai Bijin. And probably because, this is not... Everybody wants to be one of these Bijin, but people don't want to talk about the Busu so much. So, again, quotes, I'm not saying this. This is what people say. So, but what I was able to gather is... Number one, these three places are not along the Sea of Japan, right, Ryan? Can you be our map man here and take a look? So we're talking about Sendai, and we're talking about Nagoya, which is landlocked as far as I remember. Ibaraki is definitely not on the Sea of Japan. The only one that I have a slight doubt about is Sendai.
Sendai, I think, is not landlocked, but I think it's on the other side.
Yeah, okay. So...
I feel bad for Nagoya. Nobody likes Nagoya. It never has any positive connotations.
Well, I have a friend who is from Nagoya, and he has told me there's nothing good in Nagoya.
Like, I have so many people that are like, oh, I went to visit Nagoya. Like, oh, how was it? Like, oh, it's so boring.
Like, even people from Nagoya say that. So, you know what? I only spent one night in Nagoya. I went to an izakaya, and then I got on a train and I went to Toyota City, which is like, 45 minutes away if I remember correctly. And yeah, I can't say anything about Nagoya from personal experience aside from the miso katsu is good. They have good food with miso. So
what were our three again? I just checked Sendai. Sendai does not touch Sea of Japan.
Ibaraki, which...
I think Ibaraki doesn't either. I've been to Ibaraki.
Yeah, exactly. And the other one was... Nagoya.
Nagoya also does not.
No. Yeah, Nagoya. Yeah. So, okay, so...
yep,
I mean, I'm not saying that this is proof that either of these theories or top three list is true. I'm just pointing out that at least they don't contradict each other. So, But the only explanation that I was able to find, and this is like such an absolutely ridiculous story that I can't believe it. If there's any like really, I'm not a historian. My knowledge of Japanese history is like okay, but when we do these episodes, I try to, actually learn something enough to be able to tell people about it. I don't know enough about the details of this to really be able to vouch one way or the other, but this seems absolutely ridiculous and I don't believe it. But here's the story. So after the Battle of Sekigahara, which was this super important battle that basically determined that the Tokugawa family was going to rule over Japan and their allies, right? The people, I guess the Lord of Mito City, well, now it's Mito City. Back then it was, I don't know, maybe Mito Domain or something. I don't know what it was called, but now it's called Mito City. So the Lord of that area got relocated after the battle to Akita Prefecture. This guy named Sadatake, I think his name was Yoshinobu, if I remember correctly.
Quick correction here. I mistakenly pronounced this guy's name as Sadatake, but it's supposed to be Satake. So the name of the guy that stole all of the beautiful women from Mito, aka Ibaraki Prefecture, and took them to Akita is actually Satake Yoshinobu. Disregard my mistake here and whenever it comes up in the rest of the episode.
And then one of the Tokugawa, there were these three brothers that got sent to three different places. One got sent to modern-day Wakayama, the other got sent to modern-day Nagoya, and one got sent to modern-day Mito City.
So, Tokugawa Yorifusa?
He got sent to Mito to take control of that area, and the former lord of Mito got sent to Akita because this was common at the time. They sent the lords to different areas to kind of make sure that they couldn't, I guess, turn the Tokugawa and keep them all confused and consolidate, prevent them from consolidating power and rebelling, et cetera, et cetera.
Is this why in modern day high schools the teachers all transfer every couple of years so we can't rebel against the Board of Education?
I never thought about it that way, but yeah, that's to make sure that no one teacher ever amasses enough power to overtake the system. Yeah. Thank you. So this guy Sadatake gets sent to Akita, but again, this is the story that I read. I found this in like two different places, or maybe three different places. I guess he was a really petty individual and he wanted to stay in Mito. So he decides to take all the beautiful women with him. Okay? So I have no idea how he would have done this. He said, all right, guys, bring all the women to the center of the city. Let's line them up. And I'm going to say, I'm going to take you, not you. I'm going to take you and you, not you. So I have no idea how he did this. But again, I don't believe the story, so maybe it's pointless to even think about it. So he takes the quote-unquote beautiful women with him. I don't know if he took like even the peasant quote-unquote beautiful women. I have no idea. The story is not detailed at all, but it just says he takes all the bijin with him. So he takes them, and then Yoshifusa, the Tokugawa's one of these brothers, comes, and he's like, oh no, there's no beautiful women here. And so then he apparently complains somehow to Sadatake and said, I guess he must say like, hey, what happened to all the beautiful women? And then Sadatake, again, he comes off as like an incredibly petty, like horrible person. He's like, okay, I'll send you some women. And he ends up sending all the ugly, quote unquote, ugly women, the busu women of Akita over to his former domain of Mito. So now, Yoshifusa, the Tokugawa guy, ends up with all the ugly girls of Akita. And so now he's like, I guess, even more irritated because now he doesn't have the beautiful women and now he has more quote unquote ugly women. So his solution here is he sends a fourth of these quote unquote ugly women back to Akita. But these women
never make it to Akita, and they end up in Sendai for some reason. I don't know why.
They
just
lost.
end up. Yeah, they got lost along the way. and like, oh, we're just gonna stay in Sendai.
The map system wasn't so good back then.
That's true. They're probably, highways, and it was all a lot more confusing back then. They took a wrong turn, ended up in Albuquerque.
And just stayed there.
They just stayed in Sendai. So that's why Sendai is known as one of these quote-unquote ugly women places, because the women didn't make it to Akita. They ended up in Sendai. All right. So next, the Tokugawa guy, he decides to send another fourth to one of his brothers over in Nagoya, in what is now modern-day Nagoya. So he sends the fourth over there. Nagoya now has its ugly women, so now Nagoya becomes known for ugly women. So now, Mito has half of the ugly women originally sent to him, plus presumably the quote-unquote ugly busu women that were left over in Mito. So, what he does next, this Tokugawa guy, he sends another fourth to his other brother in modern-day Wakayama. So he sends these, they make it there, and this part is a little unclear. I'm not sure when this happened, but the grandson of the Tokugawa brother there eventually ends up taking those quote-unquote ugly women to Edo with him because he had a thing for ugly women.
If it's the grandson, aren't these women, much older by this point?
I don't know this one, yet another, vague and confusing and unbelievable part of the story. But so Wakayama gets saved from having ugly women, but I guess this influences Edo. And I didn't know that Edo had a reputation for having ugly women, but I guess according to this story, there's some ugly women over there. So because the grandson just really liked quote unquote busu ugly women. So that's where the story ends. Mito gets stuck with, I guess, a fourth of Akita's ugly women, plus the leftovers of, what was left over after the original lord left to Akita. And that's how you get the three ugly women areas of Japan. And it's absolutely believable, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. People just passing women around and nobody caring at all, apparently.
Yeah. So I believe zero of this. These were, from my understanding, is that these three Tokugawa brothers were actually, they existed and they were three well-known figures in history. I don't know about this Sadatake Yoshinobu guy, the guy that ended up in Akita, but I have a very, 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 very hard time believing that this interchange of women happened. This is exactly what I was...
even if it did, Mito's the only one that actually lost their beautiful women population, so the other places would still have them.
Yeah. So, I don't know, unless Mito is supposed to be extra known for quote-unquote ugly women, I don't know about that. And it's regardless, how... Even if there's some element of truth to this, I would presume that maybe it was I took all the concubines or the noble women or something like that, right?
Yeah, there's no way he went through peasants.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, regardless of your idea of what exactly a beautiful woman is, there were most certainly beautiful peasant women, even if they weren't dressing in opulent kimonos, they were beautiful. And by the time we get into 300, 400, 500 years in the future, where there's no quote unquote peasants anymore, I mean, you're still going to get that genetic lineage there. So it's hard to say that, it's impossible to say that this happened. And I have seen no records, no believable historical records that point to this. But if I'm wrong, please, Ichimon@japankia.com, please tell me about this important historical moment that apparently I'm wrong about. So yeah, crazy story. But then we have Yamaguchi. But let's take a quick break and talk about Yamaguchi after the break. I'm visiting Japan and I need to make a phone call.
Well, then you should get a voice and data SIM card from Mobile. So the voice and data SIM plan gets you a Japanese phone number, and you can use my affiliate link to get 10% off. That's mobile.com/TonyJapan. Link in the show notes.
Thank you so much, Tony. Do you want to support this show by getting an awesome t-shirt featuring incredible artwork by a real Japanese artist? Then check out mekanekosushi.com. That's my online shop where I'm selling t-shirts and mugs and whatever else I can put out featuring awesome art by my good friend, the Japanese artist Akihiro Horai. The current design up on sale right now features his own original version of Son Goku, of course, the character from Journey to the West that, well, you know, Dragon Ball, Akira Toriyama, you know, that Goku is based on the original Son Goku, aka Son Wukong. So this design of this t-shirt is awesome. I have my copy and a few people have purchased it already. If you're listening, thank you so much. If you want to check it out, go to mekanekosushi.com or check out the link in the show notes. All right, so let's talk about Yamaguchi. So Yamaguchi, yeah, I've only been to Yamaguchi once. And it was to go to a fish market, Karato. I've been to Fukuoka many times, and Fukuoka is on the, like, you can cross over the strait, I guess it's called, like the body of water, the strait that runs between Honshu and Kyushu, and you can cross over to Yamaguchi on a ferry. I did that. I had a whole bunch of fish and delicious stuff, and then I went back to Fukuoka. That's my only experience in Yamaguchi. I can say nothing else about Yamaguchi pretty much. You have not been to Yamaguchi.
I do not believe
right,
I've ever been to Yamaguchi.
Okay, yeah. So neither of us can really say anything about the women of Yamaguchi, and we're not trying to. We are just sharing what some people say, and this absolutely absurd story that we are about to get into. But to explain, it is said by some people, and if you look this up online, you do find Japanese articles about this. There was also a Japanese TV show that did a story about this, I think in like the mid-2010s. It's called Getsuyo Kara Yofukashi. Pretty popular at the time. It starred, the hosts were Matsuko Deluxe, a popular TV personality, and I forgot his name, but he's one of the Kanjani 8 members. Can't remember his name, but anyway, popular show. They did a whole thing about this. So the story, the thing that we're talking about is the women of Yamaguchi are cursed to be ugly. So if you're born in Yamaguchi, you are supposedly busu, right? Ugly. And that's a curse, right? So where did this come from? What's the foundation for all of this? To get to the point here, I was not able to find any solid like source that said this is when this supposed story, legend, whatever started. This, some places call it a toshi densetsu, an urban legend.
It was a very strong Ushinokoku Mairi.
Go back to our Hour of the Ox episode.
Seems like a good plug time.
Yes. That is our go-to curse episode, followed by, of course, the curse of the Colonel.
It's the Colonel. He was cursing them. It's not even related. Yeah. He's just like, I don't like that prefixture for some reason.
I don't like Yamaguchi girls. You're all going to be ugly.
They don't eat enough fried chicken.
Yeah. So anyway, so this curse, I was not able to find like some historical source that said, it was some famous historian that first pointed this out or anything. So I don't know. I just do not know. But this is the story that is offered up as some kind of explanation for this idea that women from Yamaguchi are not attractive. So a long time ago, again, very vague. I don't know when this was, but
Mukashi.
There was a girl. Mukashi. Yeah, it didn't start with Mukashi. I think it was only one Mukashi in the thing that I read. So there was a girl named Oman. And you write her name, O, and then man is the 10,000, the kanji for the number 10,000. So it's like an auspicious name, I guess, maybe either wealth or long life, right? But this girl named Oman was born to a wealthy family. And she, grew up and quickly became known for being quite beautiful. She had a very fair complexion and big eyes. Both traits that in Japanese society are considered to be quite beautiful. So, and that's why when you go to those purikura,
they make you look like a monster.
Yes. Yeah, they have these filters in these photo booths that make you very white and have huge eyes.
It's horrifying, and like my students think it's adorable.
Yeah, and you look like some sort of gray alien, but white. Anyway, so she looked like an alien, and all the men were going crazy for her.
Let's just lean into it. She was an alien.
Yeah, so she was an alien, much like Kaguya Hime. Go back to our Kaguya Hime episode. And so, anyway, she developed a reputation for being beautiful. So, I saw like 2 or 3 different versions of this story. Some keep it vague and they say like she liked somebody. She had feelings for somebody. One specifically says that she fell in love with a traveling actor. Another, I think, said that she was engaged to somebody. Whatever it is, she had some connection to some man. And one day, the lord of this town, because it was a castle town, and so I guess there was a lord living in the castle. He came down and he was doing something. I don't know what he was doing, but he spots Oman. He sees her. He sees this beautiful girl, and he says, "Come with me, and I'll give you whatever I want. Be my
whatever I want,
concubine." Whatever you want.
I mean, it's more realistic the other way.
Yeah, well, as we will see, this man is quite selfish, and it was probably whatever I want anyway. But he says, "I'll give you whatever you want. Come with me, be my wife or concubine or whatever it is." But she refuses. Now, according to one of these versions of the story, what ends up happening is that the dad says like, "Oh, hey, the Lord wants to, make you his wife. Like, do you want to go with him?" And this, wealthy dad guy, he ends up accepting that Oman doesn't want to go with him, with the Lord. So he's like, "Okay, fine. I'll go to the castle and I'll tell him." And keep in mind that in these stories, usually it says like this guy was very scary, the Lord. So they were all kind of nervous already. So the dad goes to the castle and I guess he tells him like, "Look, my daughter," he's like, "she's not that into you, so could you just like maybe find somebody else?" So then the next part in the story is that the dad doesn't come back. And then I guess the Lord sends like retainers or soldiers, whatever, to go get Oman, to get the girl. So they take her to the castle and she gets there and she sees that the dad has been tied up. And I think they have like a sword, like they're going to cut off his head or something, or like stick it in his chest. I don't know. But they're threatening the dad. And the Lord is like, come on, like, look, what's going to happen. Like, you come marry me. Come on. I'll give you whatever you want. And the girl, she's like, no, please, whatever. I'll do whatever. Just not that. I can't, I can't be with you. So what ends up happening is I guess the dad ends up getting killed. I'm not sure if in front of her or afterwards, but then they take her, they tie her up and they hang her in an old well in a mountain called Mount Princess. Hime means princess. This is an actual mountain in Yamaguchi Prefecture. So they hang her in this well. I'm not sure if the well has water in it, if she's just hanging freely, or if
This is not like noose killed hanging.
Yes, it's not noose hanging. They're just like, I don't know if they tied up her feet or her chest or what, but they're dangling her or they lower her into the well. I'm not sure. Again, vague story, but they put her in the well. And I guess, it's like, "Hey, marry me. I'll bring you out." It's like, no, marry me. No, marry me. No. I guess, I don't know. But here, this is the weirdest part of the story. Not the cruelest, but the weirdest. The Japanese is mainichi no yoni. So almost as if every day they begin throwing snakes at her in the well.
So she's tied up in a well. So they're just like thumping against her and then falling down the well, right?
Yeah. And then somebody, I don't know if it was the Lord or his like snake handler, the official Yamaguchi snake handler, he has to climb up the mountain every day with a sack of snakes and then throw them into the well and then say, "Are you ready to marry the Lord?" And she apparently refuses, and I don't know for how long this goes. And I want to point out here, are you familiar with there being like any poisonous snakes on Honshu? Because I'm not.
I don't know snakes well, but no. Also, I'm pretty sure, like, thrown snakes don't bite. They'll just hit you, be confused, and fall off.
See, what I'm picturing is they get, like, snakes and they tie the head to the tail and they try to do, like, ring toss. So they try to, like,
like Xena rings.
Yeah, they try to, like, nail her around the head so that it's like a necklace of snakes so that that's scary, right? Like, you keep getting, like, snakes, like, stacked on you like that. That's scary stuff. So
maybe they got imported snakes from Okinawa. Those ones are poisonous.
Yeah, true. Yeah, well, that was my point. Like, Okinawa is famous for having, like, a poisonous snake. I think it was called the mamushi, if I remember correctly.
Maybe they kept throwing Tsuchinoko, and that's why they went extinct.
Tsuchinoko.
Another plug for an old episode.
Yeah, go listen to our Tsuchinoko
That
episode.
one would do more damage if you're chucking it at somebody.
But remember, the Tsuchinoko does bite its tail and roll.
That's right.
So it already makes that loop.
That.
Yeah, it makes the loop. So, yeah. So, I don't know, vague part of the story. It just says, 毎日のように蛇を投げ込む or something like that, right? And it's just like, they were throwing snakes into the well as if every day, almost as if every day or something like that, right? So, again, I no clue what the hell is going on in this story, but the story ends with Oman, dying, but before she dies, she says, like, I had to suffer because of my beauty, and I don't want any women in Yamaguchi to suffer the same fate as me. So I curse all the land that is visible from this mountain, so that all women that are born from here on out will be born ugly, and there's no more beautiful women.
I mean, she was in the well, though, so what was visible to her was the other side of the well.
Maybe she must have been very careful.
And a whole bunch of dead
so
snake corpses at the bottom.
Poor snakes, man. Oh, jeez. I mean, poor Oman, obviously. That goes without saying. But poor snakes. Like,
especially because in the story she isn't dead. So not only are they throwing snakes at her, they're apparently giving her food and water so they can keep up the snake throwing.
Yeah. That's another thing. Like, it sounds like they kept her down there for quite a while. So they must have given her something to consume.
Maybe she just caught the snakes in her mouth.
Yeah. Again, very, very vague story. So, yeah, so that's the idea that she didn't want any other women to go through what she did because of how beautiful she was. And so she made sure that no more beautiful women were ever born in Yamaguchi. I found somebody that wrote a blog post, I think it was a Japanese woman, that she said that for 4th grade, she went on a field trip. I think it was 4th grade, but as a child, she went on a field trip to Himeyama and she went up the mountain, but she didn't see any wells on the mountain. So,
wouldn't this be a great Halloween costume? Like Japanese nobility, but just snakes all around you?
That is a scary costume.
And you, like, of course, don't use real snakes, but, like, you can go to a party and just be throwing fake snakes at people all day.
That's a pretty deep cut. I mean, probably people in Yamaguchi are familiar with this story, but not everybody across Japan knows it. So it's a good kind of teaching experience. It's like, well, apparently in Yamaguchi people say this. So
yeah, if you want like an obscure hipster costume and you just want to throw stuffed snakes at people for fun.
Yes. Yeah. So I did find one.
You can shout
article.
at them to be ugly, curse people to be ugly.
You're too beautiful. Snake. Oh, silly. So I found one article that proposed or kind of said, like, there might be a story that served as the basis for this story about Oman and the snakes and the curse and all that. And that story is that there was a lord in the area that he, I guess, took a liking to a woman who was married to somebody else. And he, again, very vague story, so I don't know how exactly this all happened, but he essentially ended up stealing her, taking her away from the other person, and either marrying her or simply getting her pregnant. I'm not sure. But he was so scared of his original wife, the wife that he was still with, he was already married to when he stole this other wife, that he kept this other woman and this other child a secret from her. And then the secret child ended up growing up to be a lord of the area, but the family and the retainers kept this a secret for, according to this article, this story, for like 400 years. I don't know if there's factual basis in this, but even if there was, I don't know how this goes to woman in well gets snakes thrown at her and then curses Yamaguchi Prefecture. I'm not sure what the link is. I mean, there's some small like parallels, but for the most part, it sounds pretty different, right?
I gotta point out, from her point of view, it's not a curse, though, right? It's like more like a blessing to spare them.
Yeah,
suffering.
exactly. No, she does it with good intentions, obviously, because she went through this absolutely horrible experience, and she never wants anybody to experience it again. Yes. So, yeah. Again, this is something that some people are aware of. Obviously, I certainly am not saying that women in Yamaguchi are not attractive. Not at all. But for some reason, Yamaguchi does have this reputation beyond this story. There are people that say this, and it was enough for a Japanese TV show to do like a segment about this. So it's in the so-called zeitgeist, I guess you would say, in the Japanese kind of cultural awareness. And you do find this online if you start looking up. I found a video about this. I found a few articles about this. So it's in Japanese. And as far as I know, I don't think it's in English. I don't think anybody has ever done a detailed thing about this in English.
Until now.
We might be the first ones. And again, we're not trying to spread anything about Yamaguchi. I love your fish market, Yamaguchi.
We're just trying to spread that throwing snakes is a good way to punish people.
Yeah. If you ask a girl out on a date and she says no, do not throw snakes at her. It's not going to work. It's not going to work.
And why would you want to hurt cute little snakes?
Yeah. If she really likes snakes, maybe.
If she likes snakes, that might be how you ask her out, is to start tossing snakes at her.
Yeah, maybe.
I heard you like snakes, so blah! And then just throw snakes.
But do it at your own risk. We are not condoning that.
Yes, and make sure the snake is willing to.
Yeah. And maybe Tsuchinoko, I mean, they sometimes, they can talk, so maybe you can get consent from the Tsuchinoko.
Oh, they're definitely down for it. They like to roll around anyway.
Yeah. So maybe. So yeah, that's basically all I have to say about this whole beautiful, ugly thing, beauty, unattractiveness, all in the eye of the beholder, whatever, and culturally kind of determined, blah blah blah. And but there's some pretty crazy stories out there that people, I think, made up long after the fact to try to explain some of these absurd things.
Yeah.
So again, go check out Yamaguchi. They have a wonderful Karato fish market. Awesome. Absolutely wonderful place. You can eat so much delicious food. And I'm sure the people there, including the women, are absolutely wonderful too. So, all right. Okay, see you guys. Hey, thought I'd add this at the end here because I realized we never explicitly answered the question, but is Yamaguchi cursed? No. There's some ridiculous story that seems to have no foundation in reality as far as we can tell, that says that it was cursed, but that's just a story. And a lot of this stuff is pretty much BS, so there you go. All right, once again, see you next time. Japan Station is made possible in part by amazing people like you. If you'd like to make sure that I can keep bringing you more content about Japan, the Japanese culture, and the Japanese language, then consider joining the Patreon over at japankyo.com/Patreon. You can join for as little as $1 a month, and that will get you early access to episodes, plus ad-free versions. I also take one-time donations over on Ko-fi, Venmo, and PayPal. Links are down below.